Make sure we're working. Hello, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Alrighty, we're going to get started in not too long. I just want to make sure we're live on my end. Yep, we're live on my end. Awesome. Alrighty. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Real Estate Roast, the podcast where we serve up the real truth with no sugarcoating and no filters, just straight talk with a side of sass. Today's episode is special because we're heading East Tennessee, that is, and we're talking about what my first-time homebuyers need to know in this economy. Whether you're looking near Cosby, Sevierville, Newport, Dandridge, or somewhere off a gravel road with more cows than neighbors, this episode is for you. And joining me is someone who knows that area like the back of her hand. Realtor, East Tennessee expert, and someone who can spot a sketchy septic tank from a mile away, my girl, Heather. Welcome to the Real Estate Roast, Heather.
Hi, Ashli. I'm so pumped to be here. I always say East Tennessee is where the views are gorgeous, the houses have character, and sometimes the neighbor is a goat, and we like it that way.
All right, let's get into it. Heather, for folks who may not be familiar, what's the vibe like when you're buying a home in Tennessee?
Well, it's definitely got that small town, slower pace feel, and people love that. You've got a mix of cabins, older homes, some land, and lots of short-term rental potential. But it also comes with things city buyers don't always think about, like wells, septic systems, and gravel roads that may or may not be your responsibility.
Oh, yeah. Y'all, if you're coming from the city, just know your Amazon delivery might need four-wheel drive. Now, let's get real for a second. With today's interest rates, higher home prices, and all the confusion online, what's the number one thing first-time homebuyers need to understand when buying right now?
That monthly payment is everything. People see a price tag and think, I can afford that, especially if they got like an approval for that amount. But it's the mortgage payment, taxes, insurance, and maintenance that really matters, especially out here where older homes and big yards are common.
Yeah, if the home comes with land, guess what it also comes with? Mowing and sometimes snakes. So here's my next question. What advice do you have for someone who's trying to buy right now but is worried about interest rates?
I always tell my buyers, marry the house and date the rate. If the payment works for you now and you love the property, go for it. You can always refinance later, but finding a house you actually want to live in, that is harder.
Preach, especially out here where listings can be limited and cabins sell like hotcakes in October. So let's talk mistakes a little bit because nothing says roast like leaning in the hard way. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen first-time homebuyers make when buying in this part of Tennessee?
Number one, skipping the inspection or not understanding your septic system. Just because the water runs doesn't mean it's safe or reliable. And y'all, your biggest mistake would be not having an inspection. I'm not talking just about your standard home inspection. Of course, you want a home inspection because at the very least, that's going to give you a heads up on any repairs you might be facing soon. But depending on what's in your contract, and your realtor should help you make sure that this is in there. If something major is uncovered, you may be able to negotiate with the seller to fix it or even walk away from the deal without losing your earnest money. And don't forget the extras. In rural areas, it is smart to have your heating and cooling system checked, test the well water if there is one, look into your septic system, and absolutely check for wood destroying pests. These aren't add-ons, they are essentials out here.
Yes, so much yes. It's not just about what you see, it's about what's under the surface, literally. And if your agent doesn't recommend these inspections, red flag.
Also, buying a home without checking your cell service or internet access, especially if they plan to work from home. And number three, assuming that you can turn any property into an Airbnb without checking your zoning or restrictions. And here's the thing, a lot of the folks are coming out here looking for what they think is unrestricted land. They want to start a homestead, set up a mini farm, or build something custom. They fall in love with the view, buy the land, and then they find out that they actually can't put the type of building they want on it, or worse, they didn't realize there were restrictions at all. And it's not just out of towners. I've had people who grew up here, who've driven past a property their whole life, trying to buy it, only to find out now it's part of a subdivision with pages of rules. Even if it's out in the middle of nowhere, that's why doing your due diligence is so important. And when the property looks like it should be wide open.
Not every cute mountain cabin is legally rentable, y'all. And not every patch of woods is a blank canvas for your farm dreams. Sometimes you find that out after you've already signed the papers, and suddenly your side hustle becomes a full-time problem. Make sure you check with your agent and ask those questions. Okay, say someone's ready to start looking in this area. What are a few questions they can ask their real estate agent?
Great question. They should ask, what kind of water system does the house have? Is it well or is it public? When was the septic tank last pumped or inspected? Are there any road maintenance agreements? What are the property lines and easements? What kind of internet and cell coverage is actually available? Not just technically exists.
Oh man, that's gold because because there's listed on the MLS fast internet, and then there's streaming Netflix in 144p real life. Goodness. For any first time buyers listening right now, feeling overwhelmed by all the moving parts, what would you say to encourage them?
You don't need to know everything. You just need the right people on your side. Ask questions, take your time, and don't let fear talk you out of your future. There are still great homes out there, and the right one is worth waiting for.
A great realtor will walk you through the process step by step and is not afraid of your questions. You don't have to settle for a fixer upper with haunted energy just because the market is tough. You can buy smart. Heather, I just want to ask, like, is there anything else before we kind of wrap up? I know it was kind of a quick little segment, but is there anything else that you're like, I need my buyers to know this, or something that I want them to know before we head out today?
I just want to urge my buyers. A lot of first time buyers go out there and they're like, oh, well, a lot of people are doing this. We don't need a realtor. We can make our contracts on our own or whatever. And then they end up just spending way more money than they should have for the house that they
Mhm.
liked. So I just urge you that a realtor, a good realtor, is
Yeah.
absolute gold. And so make sure that you interview if you find one that you vibe with, and work with them, because they're going to save you money and they're going to just protect you in so many ways that you don't realize it, that are even out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is it possible I know that there's a lot of different, like, laws and rules right now. If you aren't vibing with your realtor, how do I get out of that? How can I find somebody that I actually want to work with?
Well, I know that just like how I work it, and every realtor is going to be different. But for
Okay.
instance, when I'm taking a buyer out to go look at houses, I won't necessarily have them sign a binding agreement right off. I'll have them sign what's called like a touring agreement, so that I can take them to look at houses. And then during that time when we're looking, if they decide that they want to put an offer in and they still like me and they want to use me, then we'll talk about the binding offer. If I do have um, a client who is underneath like a binding offer and they're just like, you know what, this isn't working,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and let them go, because I don't want to have, that bad blood between the
Yeah.
two of us. I want them to be happy with their house purchasing, and just with the whole process in general. Not every realtor is like that though. So you might want to double check. Maybe that could be one of the questions that you ask your realtor
Yeah.
when you're viewing.
That is a great thing to ask before, I think. And I guess one more question for you, because I thought of it as you were talking. How is the market doing out in East Tennessee? What is it looking like out there?
Well, right now, buyer wise, it's pretty slow. There are I'm not going to say there's a lot of houses on the market, but there's enough houses on the market that when buyers are coming in and making offers, I think the last statistic I saw was the offers are generally, when the house is finally selling, it's coming in for around 96%
Okay.
of what the original listing price was. So that's not bad. Houses are sitting a little bit longer on the market. So it's not like it was around COVID when you would look at a house and 30 minutes later it was sold.
Right.
It's not like that. So I'm going to say I suspect it's edging a little bit more towards a buyer's market. So it's
Okay.
great for my buyers.
Yeah.
I think it's a good time to look. And like we said earlier, if you find that great house, but you think the interest rates are a little high now, you can always refinance when they come down.
Yes, absolutely. I think that I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, listen, it doesn't cost anything to look at the numbers. So it's always worth it to look. And we've got different programs that we can look at to lower that rate. We've got lots of different things that we can mess around on my end to see if it actually works out for you. So I definitely encourage you to just at least look at it and then we can come up with a plan if we need to wait a couple of months. So
Another thing too is a lot of sellers right now, because they are wanting to sell their homes a little faster. A lot of them are offering perks to buyers. So they might be offering closing costs, or maybe a buy down, or
Okay.
just a lot of different things that some sellers are offering that may put them above other sellers so that they can get that house sold quicker. And so those are always beneficial to the buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can get some of those closing costs covered, that would be fantastic for sure. Awesome. Well, Heather, thank you so much for dropping all this mountain wisdom on us today. If y'all are looking in the Smoky Mountain region, she's the one you want in your corner. And for all my first time buyers out there, don't forget I've got a free home buyer checklist that breaks down all this even further. Drop a little house emoji in the comments or DM me the word free and I'll get it sent over to you. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Estate Roast, where the truth is hot, the advice is hotter, and the